Today we have a cautionary tale for all producers.
People should know you can't be, disrespecting our religion like this.
This is, her brand. She's the face of it, and stuff like this, it should be double checked.
Yo, what are they doing? Like, are they trying to take a little mockery of us?
Rihanna received a lot of backlash for offending a religious group during her recent fashion show. Before I get into the story, I just want to put out a disclaimer. Please do not send any hate to Rihanna or anyone else involved in this story. This video is simply meant to report on the news and give some insight on the situation. On October 2nd, Rihanna hosted her much-anticipated Savage X Fenty lingerie show. At first, Rihanna was praised for having diverse models. Some viewers even compared the show's diversity to the now-defunct Victoria's Secret fashion show. However, after the show aired, Rihanna began to receive some backlash. During the show, models strutted down the runway to the song Doom by the artist Cuckoo Chloe. In the song, audio of someone reading Islamic hadith plays, remixed over a funky beat and dance music. The song played while models walked the runway in skin-tight and revealing outfits. The use of the hadith over the content of the lingerie show could be seen as disrespectful, as modesty is an important part of Islam. An example of modesty in Islam is women choosing to wear the hijab or the niqab. For context, Islamic hadith is the records of the traditions or sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. Hadith is very important in Islam and is considered a major source of religious law and moral guidance. Since the show was streamed on Amazon Prime, Rihanna put a playlist on Amazon Music that featured the song for fans to download. Many fans were disappointed that Rihanna would use the song in her show. As a Muslim, no words can describe how disappointed I am with Rihanna for letting her models dance to hadith. Hadith are the sacred words of our prophet. You can't just use it for your lingerie show. Disgusting and extremely disrespectful. I've always admired Rihanna's commitment to diversity and inclusivity in the fashion beauty industry. However, the latest stunt in her fashion show demonstrates an obvious disregard for an entire demographic and conflicts with the equity her brand stands and prides itself in. Y'all don't realize how disrespectful it was what Rihanna did. She didn't use music that's in Arabic or anything. She used a hadith. Hadith and Arabic songs are two different things, and she used the words of our prophet that are meant to guide Muslims for her lingerie show. Some fans accused Rihanna of cultural appropriation. What Rihanna did is so disappointing. It's cultural appropriation and disrespect. The hadith has more meaning to it than just background music, and to some people, it's very sacred and holy, so I'm very, very disappointed. Islam is not some sort of aesthetic y'all can use. This is our holy religion, and acts like these are incredibly disrespectful and pains us Muslims more than you can think. This, however, isn't the first time Rihanna has been called out for cultural appropriation. In August 2019, Rihanna was called out after a cover she did for Harper's Bazaar China surfaced. In the picture, Rihanna is dressed up in traditional Chinese fashion. The magazine defended Rihanna by explaining the concept for the photo shoot was to have a Western celebrity dressed in Eastern traditional style. Rihanna also made sure to tag the Chinese stylist who worked on her look, so many argued it was more cultural appreciation than appropriation. Back to the current story. After the backlash from the fashion show poured out, Cuckoo Chloe posted an apology on Twitter. I want to deeply apologize for the offense caused by the vocal samples used in my song Doom. The song was created using samples from Bale Funk tracks I found online. At the time, I was not aware that these samples used text from an Islamic hadith. I take full responsibility for the fact I did not research these words properly and want to thank those of you who have taken the time to explain this to me. We have been in the process of having the song urgently removed from all streaming platforms. CNN spoke with fashion designer Farouk Arshad, the CEO of 5 Pillars, a fashion brand inspired by Eastern and Islamic culture. Farouk spoke about Rihanna's use of hadith. For us Muslims, a hadith are a sacred scripture and fundamental part of our religion. To see a hadith used in this type of context both by the artist and by Rihanna's Fenty team was distasteful and disrespectful. CNN also spoke with Rihanna fans. One fan explained her disappointment. Personally, I felt very disrespected, especially since the show was supposed to be revolutionarily inclusive. While I do extremely appreciate how the show showcased all types of races, ethnicities, and body types, I was disappointed that such an inclusive show would alienate its Muslim audience. The fan also explained her disappointment in people who say Muslims are overreacting to the situation. I honestly was not surprised. Muslims are so accustomed to being disrespected in the media that the community has become numb to it. Muslims have been disrespected and mocked in the mainstream mainstream media for the longest time, from awful portrayals in TV shows to disrespecting to excluding modest fashion, and I am glad that artists are now being held accountable and learning from their mistakes. After Cuckoo Chloe apologized, fans were disappointed because Rihanna hadn't addressed the situation. One fan said, "Rihanna, I used to cheer you up for everything you did, but today you disrespected my religion. I'm so hurt. You've been too far. You and the girl who made the music have to apologize for what you did. That's the minimum you can do." On October 6th, Rihanna publicly apologized on her Instagram story. "I'd like to thank the Muslim community for pointing out a huge oversight that was unintentionally offensive in our Savage X Fenty show. I would more importantly like to apologize to you for this honest yet careless mistake. We understand that we have hurt many of our Muslim brothers and sisters, and I'm incredibly disheartened by this. I do not play with any kind of disrespect toward God or any religion, and therefore the use of the song in our project was completely irresponsible. Moving forward, we will make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Thank you for your forgiveness and understanding, Ree." Fans had mixed feelings about Rihanna's apology. Rihanna's apology really is the definition of bare minimum. What an insincere apology. Who is she thanking for forgiveness? I do not forgive her at all, and I'm pretty sure none of my people did. How did anyone forgive her before the apology? Such bull. This is an apology, taking accountability for a mistake and striving to do better. She's always been about inclusivity and representation and realizes what went wrong. Thank you, Rihanna. Despite the backlash, Farouk says he hopes the situation can be used to educate people. "I hope a negative moment like this can be used positively to educate everyone involved about the sanctity of religious scriptures and texts within the Muslim world, with the hope that something like this doesn't happen again." On Twitter, fans began posting clips from a Facebook post from 2017 written by Cuckoo Chloe. The video showed Rihanna riding around on the back of a motorcycle at the end of her Fenty X Puma show, while the song Doom plays in the background. ID Vice in 2017 posted an article right after the Fenty X Puma show, claiming Doom had indeed played while Rihanna was on the motorcycle. However, 247paps.tv posted a video of the entire show on YouTube. At the end of the set, like the other videos, Rihanna comes out on the motorcycle, but this time the song Doom isn't playing. It's unclear which account is accurate, but the raw video seems to be the most accurate. That seems to be the end of the situation for now. So, what's the big issue? The complicated situation with Islamophobia and cultural appropriation. Islamophobia is still a problem the Muslim community faces daily. For a lot of cases, the fear comes from a lack of education about the religion. Islam is the second largest religion with over 1.9 billion followers, and the number of followers are constantly growing. Like many other religions, Islam is a peaceful religion with 6 core beliefs. These core beliefs share similar attributes with other religions. When you encounter someone from a group you aren't familiar with, it's important to educate yourself before making assumptions or claims. It's also important to make sure the education is coming from a reputable source, like going to your local mosque, using reliable research tools online, or even speaking to a friend or family member who is Muslim. In 2018, the National Council of Canadian Muslims put out an article stating that since 2017, the number of hate crimes against Muslim people has increased 151%. Aside from the physical dangers that Islamophobia can have on the community, it can also have lasting disadvantages. The Journal of Muslim Mental Health released a paper titled "Growing Up Muslim: The Impact of Islamophobia on Children in a Canadian Community." This paper talks about how Islamophobia can have a great impact on school-aged Muslim children and their mental health. Their study showed that 55% of Muslim students were bullied, and that 29% of hijab-wearing students were or had their hijab or hair pulled at, which is very disrespectful in Islam. As for Rihanna and her situation, the Muslim community was upset when they saw something sacred to them remixed with a beat, while models and dancers appeared on the runway in revealing clothing, especially when Islam places a lot of emphasis on modesty. On Twitter, Muslim users spoke about how they are the only ones who can accept Rihanna's apology, since they're the ones whose culture was used. When these statements were made, other users began making Islamophobic comments, playing off off the offensive stereotypes. The song isn't even offensive anyway. It's not like it's disrespectful or anything. People use biblical references in their art and are allowed to use Islamic references. This is a free country. Y'all doing too much talking here. But when women aren't allowed to leave their houses in your countries, drive cars, and get married to 60-year-old men while being underage, it's crickets. You're literally talking about Rihanna insulting Islam, but you have no issue wearing makeup and lipstick publicly, even though Islam preaches modesty. Okay, sis. Sorry, but it really bothers me seeing all these earnest kids criticizing Rihanna for disrespecting Islam, and Rihanna backing down, of course. Globally, people are still for criticizing religion, and kids today think religion must be respected and not appropriated. Muslim Twitter users were disappointed to see the reaction from the non-Muslim community. However, a number of Twitter users joined the Muslim community in blocking and reporting the offensive accounts. As we can see, it's important to both educate ourselves on Islam and be aware of the prevalence of Islamophobia. Cultural appropriation is also very common, from questionable Halloween costumes to aspects of a culture used as a fashion statement. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, cultural appropriation is the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, especially without showing that you understand or respect this culture. A common argument against cultural appropriation is people claiming they were appreciating the culture, not appropriating. However, there's a fine line between appreciation and appropriation. According to preemptivelove.org, cultural appreciation is when you earnestly seek to learn about or explore a different culture. The main difference between the two is the level of understanding and respect for the culture. For example, it's not cultural appropriation to learn a language or try foods from a culture because you're taking the time to learn about the culture. Cultural appropriators take aspects or stereotypes from cultures and use them without an understanding of the original culture. Some examples include companies like Forever 21 selling print underwear and calling it Navajo for the aesthetic when actual Navajo people weren't involved in the creation or selling of the clothing. Another example is when celebrities go to Coachella and wear indigenous-inspired headdresses or bindis without being a part of that culture. So, is the situation with Rihanna cultural appropriation? Based on the definition, yes. Technically, the creator of the song did the appropriating, but since Rihanna put her name on the show, she should have looked into what would be representing her. The song was used in ignorance, and while it may be a mistake, it still upset many people. The Hadith are sacred teachings and should not be used for entertainment purposes, especially in a way that's not respectful towards the culture. Thoughtco.com's article, A Guide to Understanding and Avoiding Cultural Appropriation, gives readers questions they can ask themselves if they're worried about appropriating a culture. Why are you borrowing this? Is it out of genuine interest? Is it something you feel called to do? Or does it simply look appealing and trendy? What is the source? For material items such as artwork, was it made by someone from that culture? Has that individual given permission for the item to be sold? How respectful is this work to the culture? Would people from that group object to the piece of art or to it being sold to outsiders? These questions are good to keep in mind when choosing costumes for an event or when looking to buy something on trend that might cross a line. It's good to see Rihanna quickly address the situation and apologize for her carelessness, but it's unclear whether some of her fans will forgive her. For now, we can only wait to see if she holds herself accountable in future remixes and shows. How do you feel about the situation? Do you think Rihanna addressed the situation appropriately? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you want to keep up with the tea, consider subscribing.